Hey, welcome back or welcome here if you are new to my channel. As you might know, if you have watched my previous videos, I have a big bunch of art books and strategy guides that I'm trying to work through. I've been having a hard time making longer videos, but I'm slowly getting better, I hope. Crossing my fingers on that one. So today I'm really excited because we're gonna go through an art book for a game that I love and that I have loved for many years. This is the art book for The Witcher 3: The Wild Hunt. This is a large and pretty hard art book to come by. I found it really cheap second-hand. I only paid around $20, and that is pretty inexpensive for this art book. But I'm really happy that I got it, and I've been planning for so long to make this soft-spoken ASMR video. The cover of this book is very reflective, so it's pretty hard to not blind you guys. But I hope you sit back and relax, and let's get into this video. Thank you. Before we get into this soft-spoken ASMR video, I just want to make a little disclaimer. Since my channel has gotten a bit bigger, both with viewers and subscribers, I have a lot of requests to change the angle when I record books. I know a lot of people wants me to show the book maybe for above or a bit closer, and that is simply not possible for me. There are way better reviews of these books I make ASMR content on, from people that solely makes to show off the book so you can see the pages better. I tried connecting my larger iPod, but it's too far away. I can't actually read the text, so it's between having good ASMR sound or having a clearer picture while recording. And for my channel, I'm focusing more on the sounds. So this is The Witcher Wild Hunt, the third Witcher game. Art book. It's a very large book. It's very nice. This one came with the collector's edition for the Wild Hunt game. This is a game I really enjoy, but I think still my favorite Witcher game is the second one. I really like the character Sheila de Tankerville, but the third game is still a classic that is still playable to this day. Even just the inside is a beautiful piece of art. I think this shows the collision of the spheres. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt art book. We would like to give you something special, something that will endure. CD Projekt Red. And this is from 2015, so this book is soon 10 years old. And the different chapters, we have Prologue, Introduction, Chapter 1, No Man's Dragon's Land, Chapter 2, The Free City of Novigrad, Chapter 3, Skellige, Chapter 4, The Witchers, Chapter 5, Allies and Acquaintances, Chapter 6, Inhabitants of a Living World, Chapter 7, The Wild Hunt, Chapter 8, Monsters, Chapter 9, Flashbacks, and Epilogue, We Are Rebels. This art book contains spoilers that may influence your gaming experience. We suggest reading it after finishing the game. Let's look at this beautiful art with just slight pictures of nudity. Here is the introduction from the Project Red company. And here we have a world map. Because the world is unimaginably vast, Siri, I know, I seen a map. You couldn't have, no one has drawn such a map yet, and I doubt anyone will anytime soon. The map shown here is an artistic interpretation of the world, not a cartographic tracing of it. It shows the part of the continent in which this installment of the game takes place, highlighting locations that play a key role in the story. Velen, the Free City of Novigrad, the Skellige Isles, and even far off Kaer Morhen, the Witcher's Keep, and Vizima, the capital of Temeria. We have a Spike Rook, Kaer Morhen, Skellige, Andir, the Mire, Vizima, Kaer Morhen, Oxenford, Novigrad, and a lot of smaller places all over this map. The game begins near a small Temerian village, in surroundings which at first glance seems almost idyllic. Clear skies abound, and the orchard's trees are bursting with white flowers. It takes a moment to notice the telltale sign of war: collapsed roof, turned over carts littering the roadside, and abandoned possessions strewn about neglected farmyards. This juxtaposition of a warm sunny spring and a landscape rife with destruction and conflict lends color and credence to the game's atmosphere. In these lands, as is often the case in reality, war continues to upend human lives no matter the weather or the time of the year. So we can see the white orchards with the trees blooming, the stables with the horses still around, a war-torn world. The crumbling castle ruins visible in this illustration constitute one of the locations Geralt may visit in the game's prologue. It is here that the Nilfgaardians have made their temporary camp, a base of power meant to ensure imperial control over the surrounding lands. Just the art of this gaming is amazing. I love how realistic they made the water and the buildings. This is a game I like to lose myself in. And as you might know, when I play video games, I love role-playing as a male character. So this game is very both nostalgic for me also a great escape. During the game's prologue, Geralt travels to Vizima, the capital of the Kingdom of Temeria, which is currently occupied by Nilfgaardian forces. King Foltest's former palace now serves as the occupier's temporary administrative headquarters. Here, Emperor Emfyr, or Emeris, manages his newly conquered territories and plans the next move on his military campaign. We can see the flag up here, the banners of the conquered palace. Chapter 1. No Man's Land. Velen, a province in northeastern Temeria, is currently a no man's land ravaged by the ongoing movement of soldiers across its terrain. Though nominally controlled by the Nilfgaardians, the Empire has too few forces and too thin of supply lines to extend its rule further than the immediate surroundings of a handful of fortified camps. Many inhabitants of Velen have been killed or forced to flee into the woods, while those that remains eke out a meager existence under the constant threats of attack by bandits, marauders or monsters. These foul creatures, emboldened by the turmoil and chaos of war, creep ever closer to human settlements in search of easy prey. Many of Velen's peasants also whispers about a mysterious and evil power that has awoken in the swamps, one that cannot be fought with mere steel. The Velen of this time is a lawless and brutal land, in which the weak fall victims to the strong and the ruthless. It's really hard with these books because the text is always so small. I already have a hard time reading, as is because of my eyesight. They passed former hamlets and villages, the only remnants of which were black squares of scorched earth and the sharp stench of buried matter soaked by rain. Murders of crows feasting on the corpses took to the air as they went by. I really enjoy how dark this game can be. Just look at the atmosphere of this land. Even the full moon is beautiful. In our design of Velen, we tried our best to convey the way war has ravaged the region, further complementing that characters with an accompanying dark color palette. Abandoned crumbling homes cluster with nearly empty villages. We're still at No Man's Land. During Geralt's travels through No Man's Land, he passes through a small village, Etherton, which was attacked by the Wild Hunt shortly before his arrival. Hard frost and sheets of ice and unseasonable cold often follow in the Hunt's wake and provide telltale signs of its recent presence. The illustration here shows various concepts drawn while imagining a location transformed by such a phenomenon. Look how cold this place looks, covered in frost and ice. This is really such a good example. Far away in the little house, you can see that there's big icicles hanging down. And usually when that that happens in real life is because the roof of the house is not accordingly isolated, so the heat escapes out through the openings, and when it's cold outside it makes these large icicles. So that's a sign of the lost heat escaping out. You can really see how cold this place looks. Crow's perch plays a key part in events taking place in no man's land. This castle was once home to a minor Temerian lord named Serad. When he fled the approaching Nilfgaardian forces, his castle was taken over by the land's new ruler, a self-styled baron and collaborator which the Nilfgaardians named Philip Stranger, who now claims the dilapidated wooden structures as his home. You can see how the planks are broken. The home is ravaged but still used. You can see our dog looks like a bloodhound, so it's still livable even though they took it by force. We were at pains to ensure Crow's Perch melded well with Welland's overall atmosphere. The castle is a tough place inhabited by equally tough and dangerous men. It is in truth now not much more than a bandit's enclave. Mess and slaughter rule the day here. Holes poke in the walls and roofs. Here and there a tool or piece of farm equipment lies neglected and discarded, and carelessly dumped wood forms sloppy piles, lending the place an overall feeling of disorder. I would say this is pretty much unlivable. Oh, here we can see the tapers there of the three sisters, the crows. This is really beautiful, and we can see Gerald in front of the tapestry. A downtrodden village somewhere deep in the swamps of Welland acts as a center for worship of the ladies of the woods, the mysterious being who reign over this part of the province. When we set about creating this strange sanctuary, we sought to convey an unsettling and unsightly, unreal atmosphere. A wall inside one of a cluster of seemingly ordinary huts was transformed into a sort of shrine, lit by 1,000 flickering candles and adorned with skulls, both animal and human. The shrine comes across as bizarre and somewhat disturbing. Its centerpiece is a tapestry woven of human hair, deceiving 3 beautiful women. This is the villagers' point of contact with the revered and feared queens of the swamp. I think this is a very cool concept. I actually have an acquaintance, a friend of mine, that works with human hair. She makes art out of it, furniture, and I wonder if I could send a couple of samples of hair when I cut it to make a tapestry. Maybe I could order that from her. That would be really cool. Or I can look up how to do it myself. The cult of the goddess Melitele is one of the oldest and in its time one of the most widespread religions on the continent, with origins dating back to the forgotten times before the coming of man. These statues are so horrible, but they are so good in this game. The creators really knew what they were doing. Shrines to the Melitele, the goddess of harvest, earth and fertility, are a frequently encountered element of the Termanian countryside. Simple statues carved of wood depicts the goddess in one of three forms: mother, virgin or crone. Around these altars, local peasants place small thanksgiving offers of foods and drinks and light models, votive candles and lamps. I really wonder what they took inspiration from when creating these in-game religions. Here we can see a bit of darker art. Velen hides even more secrets than might seem at first glance. Hidden deep beneath its soil are the ruins of an ancient elven complex destroyed during the first wars with humans. It is hard to say exactly what these rooms and halls were used for, but they have not lost their beauty during the centuries that have passed since they first fell silent. Oh, just look at this. I love a clear blue and yellow sky. It brings me a lot of happiness of these cold days with just clear weather. Looming over Fyke Isle, a small island on Lake Windermere is in Velen, are the ruins of a tower. Even though the sweeping scenery makes for a charming sight during the day, not many dare to stay near the lake after dark, and venturing onto the isle itself is unheard of. The tower, it is said, is cursed or haunted, or possibly both. They say a mysterious mage had his laboratory here, and the local magnate, Serad, sought shelter with him when he heard of the Nilfgaardians' approach. To this day, nearby residents refuse to speak of the horrific events that took place within this building's walls. The tale of Serad is based on the early medieval Polish legend about a ruler named Popiel. This storyline that you do here, accompanied by Kaer Morhen, it's a really good one, but it spooked me out the first time playing it. Even though I like games that are a bit creepier, I'm still a wuss. I get scared easily by games. Chapter 2: The Free City of Novigrad. Where the Pontar meets the sea, there lies Novigrad, the metropolis of the north, enriched by the water-bound trade passing through its harbors and straddling a key military juncture. The city wields tremendous economic and political influence, making it a force of the northern realm, and the Nilfgaardian Empire alike must reckon with. Whoever controls the free city, with access to its full treasury, many workshop and mighty fleet, holds in his hands the key to the north. So this is very beautiful, this medieval structure. I wonder if France was the first country to start doing this during the older times. Not quite sure. I'm telling you, Gerald, Novigrad is the capital of the world. Almost 30,000 inhabitants, and that's not even counting travelers. It boggles the mind. villagers' town, but during this time it would be the biggest. Risk of getting ill, the Black Plague and stuff like that. I would not live in a larger city. You can also see how pleasant this city looks, and all of the little houses, how they thought they would be well connected in the game to each other to build up the town. While creating Novigrad's look, we were constantly looking for opportunities to convey the atmosphere of a colorful, bustling port city. The character of this location and its surroundings was meant to be diametrically opposed to the doom and gloom and ramshackle wooden buildings of Velen. The free city's architecture is inspired by the trade settlements of northern Europe. Here we can see the docks, all of the ships. I love docks like this, as you might know, or if I never told you. I love oceans, seas, docks and boats. It brings me a lot of joy to my life and a lot of relaxations. I wish to live by the ocean one day. Novigrad's location at the mouth of the Pontar is a key source of its influence and power. The river constitutes as a natural trade route, and goods travel along it or transferred to Novigrad from river barges to seafaring vessels bound for such far-off ports as Kovir, Pondvanis, or Bakkala. Dozens of sketches and drawings were made at the start-off point for the creation of the port district of the city. We wanted it to look as realistic as possible. And I do feel this looks very realistic. It brings me a lot of joy. We naturally could not design Novigrad without including the Temple of the Eternal Fire, the central place of worship for the city's dominant religion. The books do not provide with us a description of this building, so we had to develop its appearance from scratch. And that is a thing I love, how this game were built on the source material of the books. That's enough said, and the Netflix TV series, oh my god, I watched the first season, and if you're a Witcher fan, you all think alike about the series. Henry Cavill did way too good of a job to get fired when they have people rewriting the story like that. I was really disappointed. The city's public bathhouse plays an important social role in addition to its hygienic functions. This is a place where city dwellers come to relax, merchants come to discuss the investment, and the heads of criminal underworld come to plan their mucky dealings. This looks really nice. I wonder if this is based off on maybe the Greek bathhouses, or even a combination of the Turkish bathhouses. You can also see a lot of nudity in this picture. How lovely. Oh, just look at this piece of art with the sirens and the centaur. The archway above the entrance to the bathhouse is decorated with a masterfully executed and brightly colored fresco. I wish places in real life were decorated like this as well. setting proportions of the game in a big city was a fantastic opportunity to return to roots of the genre and use one of its classic elements, sewers. As one of the largest cities on the continent, Novigrad naturally has a vast network of sewers and storm drains gathering waste and water from the houses, streets and gutters and dumping it into the river. The entire underground complex of brick tunnels and drain pipes was built on the ruins of an ancient elven city. While wandering the sewers of Novigrad, one can still happen across the occasional fragment of an ancient hallway or chamber built by the Ain Seat. This portion of the free city also has its own town, has its own native descendants. Several species of monsters have adapted to life in these conditions, making the city sewers a truly dangerous place. Oh, here is from the Masquerade. One of the quests in the game takes place at a masquerade ball organized by wealthy Novigrad family, meaning we had to design several dozen unique masks for the attendees to wear. This does let our artists to free rein to these imaginations, the results of which can be seen in the designs presented in the above illustrations. Here we can see Gerald in a wolf mask and Tris Miracle in a fox mask. Novigrad is also famous for its diverse entertainments. Occupying a special place in the city dwellers' hearts is the Passiflora, an opulent and exclusive house of carnal pleasures. So this is the whorehouse that you can enter. I love how brothels always have this tint of red to them. Oh, just look at this beautiful overhead view of the city with a lot of that green landscape. Chapter 3, Skellige. The rocky and inhospitable Skellige archipelago is made out of 6 larger and several dozen smaller isles and islets, each buffeted by the cold gales and pounding waves of the great sea. This is a land of looming cliffs, brisk streams and a dark pine forest full of danger just waiting to pounce on the unwary traveler. This is a harsher, colder region, as seen here. Not for the weak ones. Looks like a lot of places back from my home, where I come from. This colder, rocky climate. Skellige looks and feels drastically different from Velen or Novigrad. This is a wild, uncultivated land, mostly untouched by human presence. We took as a starting point to this depiction in the books of Skellige Isles as a place similar to the rocky coastal area of northern Europe, the Scandinavian forts, Scotland, Iceland, and the Orkney and Shetland Isles. That is a very good description. They also have a few ports, but it's way too dangerous to travel to these places if it's not something really important. Here are some more tapestry showing a giant, maybe nice giant. Inside Kaer Morhen lie spacious stone chambers and banquet halls that look somewhat dark and foreboding in the dim light of candles and torches. Just look at all of these little fishing huts, it looks like, at the side of the dock. This art is very Viking inspired. The architecture of Skellige differs drastically from the wooden huts of Velen and the brick townhouses of Novigrad. Stone, a research of the isle have in abundance, is an omnipresent element in Skellige buildings. Even the poor in Skellige house freeholders build their humble houses out of stone. Their facades are often wooden and adorned with bas-relief carvings of animals and mythic beasts. Skellige houses are built to withstand the isle's harsh climate. Large families, often with more than a dozen members, dwell in rectangular huts that can be up to several dozen yards long. This is actually really realistic. This summer when we went to Gotland in Sweden, where most of the Swedish Vikings lived, we saw these big houses that were even from the Iron Age, or was it the Bronze Age maybe, where families lived together in large huts. Here we can see the inside of one of these bigger homes. You can cook inside, which they usually had a hole in the roof, but that made it really soggy inside and hard to breathe. Wooden carving and drying up leather and drying out a lot of food to last through the harsh winters. Just look, this is really, feels like a part of history really. These Viking-esque ships made out of wood by hand in the icy cold regions. The look of the islanders' longships was modeled on historical equivalents built by the inhabitants of medieval Scandinavia, so by the Vikings. Some ships lay with their keels facing up, others on their sides, looking as though they had been tossed there by some hellish squall or storm. Still others seemed to sail atop of the rocky ocean. They stood upright, their figureheads jutting out proudly as their mast pointing straight up, the remnants of the sail fluttering about them. So here are some more depictions of the icy region with these cold, large ships being able to go across the frozen seas. The ice giant's lair exudes a similarly grotesque feeling. It is here that the final battle between Geralt and the colossal Lord Hunwick will take place. The magical catastrophe that recently swept over the parts of the Isle of Skellige has left it looking quite different compared to the surrounding lands. Twisted gnarled trees form a strange labyrinth of tangled roots, branches and thick trunks. The area is quiet and dead. Birds, beasts and people all go to great length to avoid this place. Here we have some more of the nomadic tribes. Druid commands a great deal of respect and reverence in the Skellige Isles, so their grove is a special place for the islanders. Here in the Xenophon of an enormous Norlog, religious ceremonies and ensembles are held that bring together clans from every corner of Skellige. So here you can see a druid and his dress. Down beneath the big oak chamber. Beautiful old ruins. I think Skellige is one of my favorite places in this game, just because it looks very Viking-esque, Nordic Scandinavian inspired. Feels like home. And there are some sunken ships beneath the water. Under the water surface, one could clearly see enormous angular rectangle cut blocks of white marble, their surfaces covered with algae, mollusks and anemones that swayed in the water like flowers in the wind. One of the new elements introduced in this entry in the series is the ability to swim and explore underwater spots of the world. For this reason, we fill the waters around Skellige with intriguing, unique locations, drowned villages, wrecked ship, underwater caverns, and lost treasure awaits the player in the ocean's depths. That's really great, unless you're scared of deep water. Just look at these different ships of war, the Novigrad flag, and burning ships on the water. Here we can see some artwork of Ciri, or Cyrilla. Few know the original purpose or even the name of the ruined tower that protrudes from Undvik's rocky shore. It is Kaer Morhen, which in Elder speech means Tower of the Falcon. Its Elder speech, its light, delicate structure and soaring, slender arches and reveal a glance of this building that is not the work of human hands. Chapter 4, The Witchers. Here we can see this beautiful artwork of Geralt. The best main character ever of a game, in my opinion. Geralt of Rivia, the White Wolf, is undoubtedly the most famous and one of the most experienced members of the castle of monster hunters known as Witchers. For thousands of years, he has tirelessly trekked across his world slaying monsters and beasts that threatens human populations. He is professional in every respect, one whose services are called upon by humble peasants as well as hardy kings. Though Geralt is one of the last living Witchers, a few other members of the Wolf School, his close friends and companions, still walk the continent. Their winter home is the castle called Kaer Morhen. This chapter will be about this last cohort of Wolf School Witchers, the main character of our series of games and his closest comrades. Here's some more information about Geralt. Geralt of Rivia is the main protagonist of both our games and the series of books that served as their inspiration. The character's appearance, developed in the previous entries to our trilogy, has become something of an icon. Most importantly for the series fans, but also for all of those who take an interest in the Witcher's world. And here's his horse, Roach. I really like his basic hairstyle, not the ones you can get to customize him in game. Here are all of the different sorts of armor. You can wear different swords. A sword I really like is from the previous games, and the sword you get from the Lady of the Lake. I think that is a really cool and iconic one. An iconic questline. That was from the first Witcher game, right? Where you still could get the cards from when you sleep with different ladies. Man, how times have changed. Because he has a lot of different armors and different medallions, but I prefer his wolf one from the different schools of witchers. Different bows and crossbows, armory. There are many different armor and clothing options in this game, but I always prefer the basics. I like to look like a simple person in game. And here are some of his closest witcher friends. Geralt's fellow Wolf School Witchers figures prominently in the story of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. They had previously appeared in the prologue of the first game, but since then the engine has changed tremendously, and thus Geralt's friends Eskil and Lambert, as well as his teacher and mentor Vesemir, had to be designed virtually from scratch. So the first one is Vesemir. It's the older guy, the mentor and the teacher. Vesemir plays a key role in The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. He is one of the main characters in the prologue and also appears later, during one of the game's cinematic moments. In portraying him, we wanted to emphasize that he is the oldest living witcher, the only one to survive the pogrom which decimated the Wolf School Witchers all those years ago. No one knows exactly how old Vesemir is, but it is possible that he is older than the very stones of Kaer Morhen, among which he once served as a fencing instructor. His grey hair frames the creased, craggy face of an old man, by juxtaposing with his well-worn equipment, we leave no doubt that he is a veteran witcher, one whose skill could still give many a younger man a run for his money. Then we have Eskil, and what they did to him in the Netflix series. Oh no. Eskil is Geralt's spear, although it's true that since his mutation did not strip his hair of pigment as Geralt's did, he seems somewhat younger. Described as a laid-back and tactic turn in the books, Eskil stands out more in the outward appearance than personality. His face is disfigured by a gross scar, a mark left by the blade of his violent and unstable ward, Daedra Aidmain, and the based his appearance of the first game. And we have Lambert. Lambert is the youngest of the Wolf School Witchers. He is known for his unpleasant personality and sharp tongue, both of which distinguish him from his tight-lipped and relatively amiable companions. As we did for the other Witchers, we tried to keep the characteristic aspect of Lambert's appearance established in the first game. I love that with continuity in games. Here we have Roach, or one of the many roaches. A lot of ships you can go on. Here is the place, Kaer Morhen, where the Witchers assemble. The layout and basic concept for the fortress appearance have not changed much from the first game. It is still an ancient castle worn down by the sands of time and integrated into the rocky precipices of its mountain home. The walls and towers bear clear signs of destruction. Some of it is the result of the battle that took place here a century and a half ago. It is truly a beautiful place. Allies and acquaintances. Here we have Yennefer of Vangeberg. In the books and in the game, Geralt's main love interest, the person he has been with for so many years and I have a lot of history with. She is one of the sorcerers Geralt encounters dozens of different people during his adventures, men of wealth and influence, powerful sorceresses, calculating politicians, and fierce warrior thieves, to name a few. First off is Ciri. Ciri, or rather Cyril of Yon Island, Rhiannon, is heir to the kingdom of Sintra, a once independent realm that is now an annexed province of the Nilfgaardian Empire. At the same time, she is heir to the throne of the empire as well, being the daughter of the current emperor, Emhyr Emrys. Before she was born, she was promised to Geralt of Rivia throughout the ancient law of a surprise, which bound her fate to his with powerful ties of destiny. This interlinkage of fate has enabled Geralt to save her life on many occasions and led him to taking her on as his ward, adopted daughter and protege. Hints and mentions of Ciri could be found in the 2 previous games, but only now will she appear in the flesh. There is a lot of concept art they had for her hair, but I really enjoy they went for the grey shortish hair and not some really edgy hairstyle, but something more simple. Cyrilla's clothing was conceptualized from the start as adventure gear made up of an assortment of elements in variety of styles. Its patchwork nature reflects Ciri's stormy past, similar to how she dressed as a teenager on the run, when she joined a group of young bandits and troublemakers. We came up with many different versions of this attire, with the first drawings differing greatly from the final version you can see on the right. Wow, they really imagine her with really short, maybe a pixie cut. Looking really edgy and not really suitable for this game, I think. Not looking too edgy. I think it's good for a medieval-based game. There's Yennefer of Vangerberg. Yennefer. The sorceress Yennefer of Vangerberg, a one-time member of the Lodge of Sorceresses, Geralt's love and teacher and adoptive mother to Ciri, is without a doubt one of the 2 key female characters appearing in the Witcher books and games. The books provided our artists with a great deal of detailed information about Yennefer's appearance, including everything from her hairstyle, figure, and height to the color of her eyes and hair, to such nuances as the shapes of her face and nose. So this character is a 200-year-old sorceress that used to be a hunchback, but all the sorceresses are using magic to improve their appearances. Even though in the lore, the books, everything, she's the main love and interest, but I'm just so like, when I want to play a game, I don't want to get married, I don't want to have relationships, I just want to be a man doing his own thing. And this character, for being 200 years old, she is quite unhinged and does not have her shit together. Same goes for Triss Merigold. So I would prefer to play a game that is like, nah, I don't have time for these women. No thank you. Introducing the character of Yennefer brought with the need to develop a look for her clothing from scratch. Using the color scheme was in the simplest part, because all of the many descriptions of her in the books made it clear that she's always dressed in tasteful combinations of black and white. I think she's a really cool character, but still like this unhinged, angry 200-year-old woman dealing with her own issues. Being a bit gothic is just, it's a bit too much of PPT for my taste. And here we have Triss, the 40-year-old sorceress. Triss Merigold is easily one of the most important supporting characters in our series of Gamer. Having appeared and played a key role in all 3 installments, this young but extraordinarily talented sorceress shares a complicated history with Geralt, one that exists somewhere on the spectrum between an on and off love affair and a deep years-long friendship. The main traits of Triss Merigold's appearance, such as the shape of her face and hairstyle and her figure, were mainly based on the model created for her in the second game of the series. Only her clothing has changed more significantly. It is now more elegant, more in fitting with the regarding style in Novigrad, the city of riches and fashion in which she now lives. Triss' clothes still reflects her own taste, however, including her fondness for cuts that emphasize on her slim waist, a point of extreme pride for Triss in the books. So when this comes to a love story, instead of having a crazy 200-year-old sorceress that is just angry all the time and fighting, I would more like to have someone like Triss that is just like, it's on and off, it's not that serious, but you are good friends in the end, instead of having a toxic, friendless relationship. And and I'm really, since I played the first and second game as a child, I really enjoy Triss Merigold as a character, but still, Sheila the Tankerville is my favorite one because she does not like anyone, and that is what I want to play as, like, I put myself first in a game. Then there's Dandelion, world-renowned poet, dandy and consummate ladies' man. That in a nutshell is Dandelion, Geralt's dearest friend. Like Triss, this somewhat melodramatic and slightly self-absorbed but still likable troubadour is one of the characters who has been with us since the first game in the series. Dandelion's elegant clothing always has been one of his key traits. He has a certain preferred style, but is a keen follower of fashion and eagerly buys new clothing to keep on the forefront of the latest trends. While working on the latest incarnation of his looks, we try to incorporate this aspect into this attire. I like this. I like there is a lot of side characters that is more self-absorbed, do you say that word? But not just everyone in a game being like a stereotypical good guy, because you get really tired from that. Here's the king, Ciri's father, Hemfir van Emrys. Hemfir van Emrys, Dithwen Hanan in Kaer Morhen, or the white flame dancing on the graves of his enemies. He's the ruler of the Nilfgaardian Empire, an unflinching strategist and consummate statesman. For nearly 2 decades he has been carrying out plots and intrigues that have eliminated his enemies and political opponents, and paved the way for his empire further conquest. Up until now, his only mention in the games was as the mastermind behind the assassination of the kings of the north, operating from his distant capital via diplomats and spies. In this installment in the series, he will finally make a personal appearance as he plays the last hand in his great game. Avalak, the Elven Mage. The elf Avalak is a highly enigmatic figure. The taciturn and rather secretive mage seemed to know a great deal about Ciri's destiny and her mysterious gift, but is reluctant to share that knowledge with others. Thus, doubts remain to his motives, though one can be certain that, as an Einhammer, meaning sage, he wields tremendous powers, commanding abilities far above and beyond those of any human sorceress. We try to make Avalak's appearance fit these traits as well as the role he plays in the story. I really like how they went for this blue color, blue and red combination. Here's Uma. The mysterious deformed creature known as Uma appears several times over the course of the main storyline. The extent of this being's deformation means one cannot even ascertain his rage with much certainty. One thing is clear, however. He has not had an easy life. Wasn't Uma Avalak just transformed, right? We had Dijkstra, one of the main bad guys, Voorhis, and Radvoid. All of these are horrible leaders, really bad people, bad men. Wasn't it Radvoid who took out the eyes of the oldest sorceress? What is her name? She will come up soon. The one that can transform into an owl. I lost it right now. Here is some of the characters from Skellige. We have Kaer, Ceres, and Hjalmar. But I think these are more side characters in the game story. Same goes here. The Bloody Baron, Tamara. I think the closest friends and the sorceresses of the lodge are the main characters for this game and the story, I think. Inhabitants of a living world. The descendants of the continent and the Skellige Isles consist of more than just the rich and powerful. Most of the population dwelling in the large cities, small towns and tiny villages of this world are common folk trying to live a normal, honest life. Here is the Novigrad townspeople. I think these are a bit too, I guess, edgy to feel a bit realistic during this era. But we can see the townspeople are very fashionable, wearing colored clothing of this capital city. And the Skellige Islanders, they are really based on Scandinavian Viking culture. The men are wearing bear skins and the women are wearing the traditional, like, Viking female clothing. Here we have a lot of different inhabitants of the living world, dependent on which faction they apply to. So they go from blue and red, black, yellow, brown, and different smaller clans and factions are represented throughout their clothing. Here is also the inhabitants of No Man's Land. These are thieves, mercenaries and marauders. So they have mismatched clothing since they are allied to no one. Just trying to do what they can for themselves. Nilfgaardians. You can see their clothing. They have a lot of helmets with different shapes. They come on horses. The Wild Hunt. The mysterious Wild Hunt has been a nightmare haunting the Witcher's world for centuries. The few witnesses who have seen it at a close proximity and survived describe it as a horrific cavalcade of specters and undead warriors racing across the night sky. Clad in ghastly cavalry armor, they ride mounts as monstrous and terrifying as themselves. Rotten skeletal teeth grin out from under their helmets, and a cold fire burns in their empty eye sockets. Here is Eredin. Eredin Briac Glass, king of the Wild Hunt, is the ultimate enemy in The Witcher 3 and the fiercest opponent Geralt has ever faced. This merciless, calculating, and ambitious warrior will stop at nothing to achieve his goal, capturing Ciri. Eredin has led the Hunt's riders for dozens, possibly even hundreds of years. In order to inspire greater terror, he wears armor, making him look like a ghastly wraith. Very few are aware of the fact, but underneath the King of the Wild's Hunt's ghastly armor lies being made of flesh and blood. The riders of the Wild Hunt are in truth not wraith, but warriors of the Ain Hell, the Alder folk, distant relatives of the Ain Seid, the elves inhabiting the world in which our tale takes place. Here are some of the ghastly armor of the Wild Hunt, and even their horses, making them look like wraiths. Immelrith, one of the commanding officers of the Wild Hunt, is Eredin's right-hand man and most fervent supporter. This powerful and brutal warrior is a veteran of the many wars of conquest the Ain Hell have waged against other worlds over the course of centuries. Immelrith prizes physical confrontation and direct bloody battles in which training, quickness and strength determine who lives and who dies. Caranthir. Caranthir is Eredin's second most trusted lieutenant. His unique abilities have made him a key officer in the Wild Hunt, responsible for guiding their expeditions across the expanses of time and space that separate the Ainel worlds from others. Skellige legend speaks of a ghastly ship called the Nagelfar, carrying spectres and wraiths from the hideous lands of Morhauk. Throughout the myths, never equates this with the Wild Hunt. The similarity struck us strongly enough that we decided to use this motive to make the Nagelfar become Eredin's ship in our story, the vessel that will carry his warriors to the final, decisive battle. Here is more of the Nagelfar, the ghost ship. Really enjoy it with all the spikes. The Wild Hunt. The Wild Hunt also counts among its rank smaller minions, its hounds, that accompany its warriors into battle. Hound is a bit of a misnomer, for these are no normal dogs, but strange warlike beasts born in some nameless place far beyond our world and time. This is how they ended up in game, but I really prefer the second one. It looks really scary. Monsters. And this is a chapter we will just look throughout, because this video is already so long, and it could be a future content series with reading about different monsters from this universe. From the dreary swarms and depopulated wastes of Velen to the building alleys and canals of Novigrad, and the windswept hills and dales of Skellige, monsters are an omnipresent element of this world, a very real threat that every one of its inhabitants must face. It is the existence of these creatures brought to this world in the conjunction of the spheres that gave rise to the Witcher profession. Here are the 3 crowns we could see earlier, the 3 sisters made on a tapestry out of woven hair. These are their actual appearances. The crowns of Velen do not come to us from the Witcher novels, yet they bring a look and feel that fits in properly with the established characters of a world full of monsters and other elements drawn from European folklore. These 3 sisters are not human, instead they are members of some degenerate breed of humanoid monsters whose origins are hazy, even to scholars and witchers. I like they have a lot of mystery in this game. A lot of games are missing out on mysteries. We have some fiends, the ice giants you fight in Skellige, Plague Maiden, Noon Wraith and Night Wraith. The godlings, they can actually be quite neutral, pleasant to be around. We have some botchlings, water hags, foglets. I think there are a lot more characters and monsters that they more in the game that they show in these books. We have some ghouls and all ghouls. Bears. These are just regular, I guess. Legends. These are connected to the Skellige questline, right? With the druids. A pretty creepy quest. Really enjoy that. Caragans. These are powerful vampires. In their true form, I guess. They can look pretty humanoid as well. But these came from another world during the conjunction of the spheres. And we have cockatrice, a big chicken, sirens. I love when games use sirens because I think they're so scary. Combined with, being dragged down the ocean or the sea. I liked it, they have wings. And griffins. Flashbacks. These were like the cinematics they use in game. They're pretty cartoonish, I would say. Our ambition was to create a storyline stretching across all 3 games that would be consistent, epic and branching. One that would stick in the collective gaming imagination for years. So they had this like cinematic that were very, looks like it could be from a comic. I really enjoyed their cinematic for the game. The Wild Hunt, which looks pretty realistic. I wish more games would do that instead of this comic-like, but it's just a preference of mine. Here is the epilogue. It's just a little about the company and the team and how they were working on this game. This is still such a classic. The end of our journey is the beginning of yours. This is a very lovely game. If you have not played it, I can really recommend it. Though my favorite one is the second Witcher game. Just how nostalgic it is for me and how much I love the characters. It's a shame this went through a lot of the different characters like Dijkstra and the different bad guys, but not a lot about the different sorceresses of the lodge. I really missed out on that one from this book. But I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.